Hi and welcome to RCKicks. On today's show, well, we're going to be comparing these two. We have the iconic Tamiya Lunchbox versus the Team Associated, M12 Monster van. Now, I did a video a few months ago now when I actually pitched the Lunchbox against the Armour Gorgon, and it was quite a successful video. You seemed to quite like it, but you were saying the apples and oranges are a bit too far apart, and yes, to a point they are. What maybe put them together was they are two-wheel drive monster vehicles and their budget, and they kind of look the same. But a lot of people commented that the monster van was much closer to the Lunchbox. So that's why I got it in. So I did a full review on the monster van on the show, but I didn't actually do a head-to-head. Ricky from Beyond RC did a whole video about Tamiya being still relevant in today's market versus like the RTRs, and it got me thinking, and I thought now would be a good time to drop out a video to kind of follow on a little bit from his video and try and do a direct comparison. So I think in this video what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at these two vehicles, look at all the price points of what you get, the pros, the cons, the drivability, the features of them, so that it gives a more clear comparison between the two. So if that interests you, well, you better stay tuned. So the first thing we need to look at is price comparison between the two, because if one is $500 and one is $200, well, that kind of defeats the whole object anyway. So on that note, I just want to let you know I'm going to comment everything in pounds and US dollars, but I'm going to convert the pounds into dollars. That's not the price that you'll be able to buy this in America. The best way that I can figure it out by looking at it is when I say it in pounds, take that number and just assume that's dollars. Because obviously in the UK everything's more expensive, we have more sales tax, that kind of stuff. So when you see me say it in pounds, assume that's dollars. When I convert it into dollars, that's how much it is in England in dollars. Are we clear? Right, okay, so to compare these two against each other, we need to really look at them and try and make them as close as possible, as in what you're getting. So obviously the kit for the Lunchbox is going to be cheaper than the full RTR for the monster van. So you've got to put everything together to make it run. So the actual kit is £109, which works out to be $137. But to do a full bundle to get it going, I looked up this morning and it's £194.88 or $246. That gives you a servo, 4kg servo, 4-channel transmitter and receiver, 3000 milliamp NIMH battery, 4 AA batteries for the transmitter. The kit actually comes with an ESC and motor included, so that's kind of going to get you everything you need. Also, it comes with a Sky RC 20-watt charger, so that's what you get for the $194.88 or $246.58. There is some caveats to that, and that is bearings. You definitely want to put bearings in these if you're going to build it up. Now, the cheapest bearings that I found were £7 or $8.86. Also, you probably want to paint it. You don't have to, but assume you're going to put a little bit of effort into it. So I just put 1 tin of Tamiya paint, yellow. Now you could put primer on, then you could paint it, and then you could lacquer it. You can put car paints on a Lunchbox as it's a hard body, but assume you're going to buy a TS tin of Tamiya paint at the same time. That's going to set you back £7.99 or $10.11. So that gives you a grand total of £209.87 or $265.50. As for the Team Associated M12 van RTR, everything comes in the box, including the USB charger, the battery, the transmitter, the receiver, all the electronics already in it, the motor, so everything you need. I looked at one of those and you're currently looking at £209 for the kit, which is $264.41. So price wise, very close indeed. There is one caveat that I'd put to that, and when I looked at the specifications between the two, for that money you get a 3000 milliamp NIMH battery. So that's going to give you a lot of runtime, whereas the battery that comes in this is a lot smaller. So you've kind of got to add in another battery, as I think it's 850 milliamps. So that's quite small. Even though this is a light truck and you can get a reasonable amount of running out of it, that does make it feel a bit unfair. 850 milliamps, 3000 milliamps. So that's really going to affect your runtime. So assume you would buy a second battery. So I had a look this morning, and a second battery is going to cost you £27.54 or $34.85. And that's for a 1500 milliamp battery. So that's going to give you 2200. So we're getting a bit closer, just to be more realistic, of the run times that you're going to get. There is another caveat to that, is obviously weight. And the whole running gear, how efficient it is going to affect how long you can run for, size of motor. That is going to affect it, and these cars do have different motor sizes in them, but I thought that was a big enough difference that you kind of would take that into account. So that gives you a total for the Team Associated Monster van to be £236.54, which is $299. So you're talking about $30 to $40, obviously depends where you shop around, you get discounts, all that kind of stuff between the two. So close enough that I think from a price point, you're bang on. So let's look at the Lunchbox first, at what you actually get, and then we'll compare it directly with the monster truck. So let's dive into the Tamiya Lunchbox. This version that you see here is a little bit modified, but I will point out what's been modified versus what you get in the kit from stock. Now, the first thing you are kind of obvious to look at is the beautiful body. Now, this is not a polycarbonate body, this is a hard body, and it gives so much more detail. It is beautiful, and I think that's probably part of the biggest success of the Lunchbox, is just how detailed the body is. Also, you've got all the chrome around the fronts and the sides, and then you've got the windows and the skylight on the top, and then you've got a rear bumper on it. Being that it's a hard body, it's a lot easier to paint up because you don't need polycarbonate paint. You can use basically car paint if you want from your local auto store. This one was painted up with pink paint from our local Halfords. You can just pick any kind of car paint you want, lay it all down, then you can clear coat it if you want it to be really shiny. Basically, you can put primer on it if you want to. There's no real masking involved if you're going to go one colour, because you fit all the windows and the bumpers afterwards. And as for Tamiya, well, they know how to do their scale bodies, and it's absolutely beautiful. Let's take the body off and take a look at the chassis underneath. Now, if you're a big monster truck fan, this won't look anything like a monster truck whatsoever. It's actually like a bathtub chassis, very simple. Everything just kind of bolts to that sort of tub chassis. The rear diff and motor kind of hang out the back. This one has got oil shocks fitted all round, whereas what you get in the kit is just friction bouncy shocks. Also, this one's got extra shocks inside for the gearbox slap. The kit one doesn't have that, so when you accelerate, you get a kit. This one, I've put tons of weights inside and underneath it to stop it from rolling over and to try and keep the nose down. As of course, once the nose goes up in the air, you lose steering, so that can be a little bit wayward depending how precise you're looking to drive. So a big aspect of this is it doesn't resemble a monster truck in any real form, apart from the big wheels and the lovely van body. Building this up, and that's a big thing of it, is you have to build this yourself versus an RTR, but it is a very simple build. So you got to look at it as a pro and a con. It gives, to some people, building the kit up has a real value, like quite a high value, especially if you're going to be building it with a youngster and you're going to build it together, as it improves the ownership experience and the reward once it's fully built. But the flip side to that is people look at it from a negative point of view, because you've got to build it, it takes time, and they're just too busy and they can't be bothered. They just want to go and drive an RC. So that one, apart from talking about both aspects, it's very personal to you how much value you put in each direction. So obviously it is a very simple RC. So let's compare that against the ready to run monster van, and then you'll start to see some of the big differences between the two. So the first thing when you're actually looking at it is this is a polycarbonate body, whereas this is a hard body. What does that mean? Well, there's pros and cons. Like most things in life, it's lighter, it's quite strong. Also, you get it painted up for you, so it's got all the colors and everything's done for you. I think you can put a few stickers on it, but the actual paint job is done. Whereas the hard body, you have to do all that yourself. Also, if you impact the fronts of these, the hard body is more likely to crack, and then you have to replace it. The prices of some of the parts to replace we'll come on to in a minute, but before we go down onto that side of it, let's just take the lid off, as what's underneath is the biggest difference between these two, and they're actually vastly different underneath. Like we've just covered, the tub chassis that you get on the Lunchbox, whereas when you look at the monster van, it's much more like what a monster truck really would be. It's got a ladder frame chassis that's metal on both sides. It's got links. It's also four-wheel drive. Yeah, the biggest difference between these two is this comes with four-wheel drive, whereas the Lunchbox is only rear-wheel drive. So you've got a diff at the front and the rear. The actual drive is supplied through the middle with the transfer box, and you've got metal links. You've got proper axles. So this is basically what a monster truck would look like. So obviously that's going to play a big part in between choosing these, whether you want to go more realistic or whether you just want to go for an RC and it's designed as an RC. Another thing that this has that the Lunchbox doesn't is it has oil shocks. Yep, you get friction shocks in the Lunchbox and oil in this. So when you start adding up all those aspects of it, there's quite a bit of difference. The battery tray that's situated here is metal as well as all the links, like I've just said, so it just feels a little bit more premium. One thing it doesn't have is a front bumper, and on the Lunchbox you get a huge great big front bumper, which is gonna go down really well if you're gonna be giving this to a youngster, as when they just squeeze the accelerator until they just zoom across the garden, until they crash into something, that bumper comes in really handy, where you don't have that on the monster truck. So that pretty much covers the main differences between the two. But what happens when you break it? What are the prices like to replace things like the body, the tires, and different parts of the car? Well, I've gone and looked at some of the costs, and you'll be quite surprised. So one thing's guaranteed for sure, you're going to break it eventually. But what's it going to cost you to replace the parts? Also, how easy is it to actually find them? Well, I'm happy to report both of these parts are readily available. There's no issues finding parts in the UK for the monster van or the Lunchbox. One thing that's slightly different with the way you buy parts for these is Tamiya does it by tree, whereas you buy individual parts from Team Associated, which means sometimes it can be a bit of a pain that you want to buy one part and you end up buying a whole tree. But price-wise, from what I looked through, it's not that different. So the first thing I wanted to know is, what does it cost to replace these bodies? So to get a replacement MT12 Mad Van, the body is £45.59 or $57.68, and that's for everything including replacement body mounts as well. You just take it off and then swap it all over. It's a little bit different when it comes to the Lunchbox, as you can purchase it as a full body. I couldn't find one at the time of this video, but you can also buy the parts individually. So individually, you're looking at the body itself with no windows, no front, no bumpers, was £19.35, which is $24.48. The glass is £5.69, which is $7.20. The chrome parts are £9.98 or $12.93. And the stickers, the decals, that's going to set you back £10.93 or $13.83, giving you a total, if you bought them all individually, of £45.95 or $58.13. You would be able to get that cheaper if you could find the whole body as one big body set, which I couldn't, so you could get it a little bit cheaper than that. But if we look between the two, they're pretty much bang on. Then I went back and I looked at a few things, like if I broke an axle, for instance, How much is that going to cost? So a rear axle for the Monster van is going to be £9.98 or $12.63. Axle housing on the rear of the Lunchbox is going to be £11.87 or $15 too. A little bit more expensive for the axle housing on the Lunchbox, but again, not much in it. Then I looked at if you broke a front arm, for instance, and a front arm on the Lunchbox is going to be a parts tree, and that's £8.54 or $10.80. The steering block on the front of the Monster van is going to be £5.98 or $7.56. So a little bit less on the Monster van. It's a little bit difficult because they're so different underneath the bodies. The whole kind of layout of the monster truck is very different. So there's not a direct comparison because these are fixed axles and these have got arms on the front and then like a fixed axle on the rear. One that did surprise me a little bit is I looked at how much it would cost to replace the rims and tyres for both cars. And when you look at them, there's not much in them. But prices were a lot different. To get it on the Lunchbox, to buy the tyres, the full set of 4 tyres was £20.40 or $25.84. To buy the rims was £10.50 or $13.28, giving you a total of £30.93 or $39.12. So I thought that was really reasonable for the Lunchbox. I then went and had a look for the Monster van, and to get MT12 wheels and rims, they come pre-done for you. But for 2, they're £30.39 or $38.44. So you'd have to buy 2 sets, and that's going to be £61.86 or $78.24. Almost double the price. So if you wanted to replace all the rims and tyres on these cars, it's going to cost you twice as much for the Monster van. Also, something to be taken into account is when you're starting to spend $78 on a set of rims and tyres for a truck that costs, what, $200 and something, it starts to look a bit expensive. So you have to kind of keep that in mind. So that one I was quite surprised at, but overall, looking at them, there's not a lot in them apart from the tyres being double the price. Right, so that covers all the part prices. So let's take them out and see how they compare against each other in the real world. Oh, sun's out. Do you want to swap?
Hello. They're like little pets, these ones, aren't they?
Yeah, very much so.
Come on then.
Crash.
It doesn't take much, does it?
No.
Help me, help me.
No.
Help, help, help.
Right, so we're going to do a race.
Yep.
And the race is through that gap there, along through this gap and back here. Ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go. Oh, leave rolled over. Oh, you're on it. Oh, you win.
Winner!
You winner. Let's see who's the fastest. Right, do you want to go down there? Right, to there.
What,
Ready?
back again?
Well, if we don't roll over. I'll probably roll over. Are you ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, go. Ah,
You sabotaged it.
I did. Ah.
We didn't get far, did we?
No, that's why I thought it was a bit optimistic. Yum.
I thought it was a race, not a try and push
Yeah.
each other over.
It is. It's hard to get these full speed though. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Yes, got away from you.
That's flat out.
Yeah, I've got
You're
that
faster. Oh, there's not much in it. Yay! Oh, I'm back again. Here I come. Da, 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 da. They're about the same, I think.
Yeah, I think they're
Speed-wise, they're about the same. So there's pretty much nothing in it from a speed point of view, and they handle almost the same kind of thing, really. They don't feel that different.
I think this one falls over more. I don't know, you've just done the same thing, haven't you?
Yeah. Oh. They do roll over quite easy though, don't they? The run of shame.
Sometimes they just move off.
Yeah.
Ah, no!
Yeah, you rolled over. They're both quite bouncy, aren't they? I think they both turn over just as much as well, though, don't they? Ah! They do roll over quite easy though, don't they? Right, let's get some other footage then. Go! They are about the same speed, which is funny because the pink one has got a 540 motor in it, which is bigger than the one that's in. Oh.
Flick, flick, flick.
Yeah. Oh, it's in the bush! It's in the bushes! Oh, it's in the bushes! Ah, she's in the bush. You keep going further in the bushes.
I know, because I got stuck.
You've got to go backwards.
I can't, it's stuck. There we go.
Hey, you did it! They are a bit wayward. That's flat out, both of them. Right, shall we have a push, see who's the strongest, which I think is going to be you.
So what do you do, full speed straight away?
But just start putting the pressure on. Right. Whoa! Yeah, go Lunchbox! Boff. Oh! So let's swap again. What do you think? Which one do you prefer?
Really similar.
They're very similar, aren't they? So there you go. Sorry we ended up just messing about more than doing a serious review, and I think that kind of sums up exactly what these cars are about. They're not high precision instruments of RC racetrack or serious road cars. They are just a laugh. And I think that's what's made the Lunchbox endure for so long, is just the way it bounces around and drives and just makes you laugh. Exactly the same as the Monster van. I'm actually surprised how close they are, especially as the chassis are so different. So which one would I get? Oh, there is one caveat. The performance of the Lunchbox is partly different than what you're going to see out the box because of all the upgrades, the turning circles, the shocks that I've got and things like that, which make it a little bit better. So I'm going to say out the box, even though these two perform very much identical, I'm going to say the Lunchbox is slightly worse, especially with the servo modification. Having it changed to the position that it is in this one really helps the turning circle. As for the suspension on the front as well, that does make a big difference, not having the crazy camber. So out the box, I'm going to say the Monster Jam performs a little bit better. But as you can see, you can get the Lunchbox to that with a few more modifications. Really, I would say if you boil it down, it comes down to, do you want to build a kit or do you want to just get it out the box and drive it? As I think that's probably the biggest discerning factor between these two. Me personally, I like the realistic chassis that comes with the Monster van. I just like that kind of fixed axle and it works really well. But then I do like the hard body of the Lunchbox. But I am surprised overall just how close they are. So to sum it all up, is Tamiya still relevant? Well, when it comes to the Lunchbox, you can still have a laugh just like you can with the Monster van. Anyway, there you go. Thanks so much. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.